Hey, Coach. So glad you found the video. Couple things. First of all, make sure you subscribe and like. Second thing, go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. Let me show you how to put a roadmap and become a nationally ranked coach. I've done it for 30 plus years. Let me help you do that over at teachhoops.com. Let's head off to the video.
Hey everybody. Coach Wheeler has hijacked my podcast, and I'm probably fishing, and my YouTube channel to kind of share with you guys some things about the Princeton offense. I think he's one of the best teachers out there. And he's going to teach how the Princeton is great for underdogs, can be run by anybody. And this upcoming week, he's got a free 3-day online coaching event on the Princeton Offense, PrincetonOffenseMasterclass.com, PrincetonOffenseMasterclass.com. I'll put it down below. And he's got some great things he's going to share with you. So listen up and have a great day.
Coach, welcome to the Coach Unplugged podcast takeover. My name is Coach Wheeler, stepping in for Coach Collins. He's been generous enough to let me take over a couple episodes here. And this all kind of spawned from a conversation he and I had a few days ago where we were talking about Coach Collins being, he has built a program that for 70 some odd years, I'm little exaggeration there, for about 24, 25 years there, they had not had a winning or not had a losing season. They lost the very first season that he was coaching. And then he built a program that has now won 3 state titles, been 4 times runner-up, and then 10 times in the state tournament in the state of Wisconsin, which is absolutely unbelievable. I, as a head coach, have never even won a district championship, not even a league championship. But we have 2 completely different perspectives of the game where he's looking at it and say, hey, this is how you build a championship program that lasts. And all things equal, talent wins. So you want to foster talent. You want to build a program that talent wants to play in, that talent say, hey, I want to come out and play basketball. And then you develop that talent, and then you go and you put together your strategy, and you go compete and you win. For me, I coach at a small school, and my experience has always been I'm never going to have the best talent. And even when I do have one really talented player, eventually we're going to run into teams that are going to have 3 very talented players. And how are we going to beat that team? And that was the biggest problem I was trying to solve. So the first thing, and just a quick recap of the previous 2 episodes, is the first thing you have to do is we have to evaluate our competitive situation. Who are we? What are our strengths and weaknesses? Who are we trying to beat? Then once we find out who we're trying to beat, we find out how do they play? What style? Because it's the strategy now that we have to go at. If the best teams on our schedule are up-tempo, play super fast, and if we want to go play the same style, the same tempo as them, all things equal, talent wins. Right? All things equal, talent wins. So we have to find a smarter way to play. We have to come up with a superior strategy, and then we develop the heck out of the players that we have, the talent. We develop the talent we have. We develop the skill and the talent that we have. And while we may not have collegiate level players, maybe our players can be good enough where that superior strategy will take over and let us be competitive and give us a shot to win at the end of the game. So that's what we talked about in the first 2 episodes. And now we're getting into the actual X's and O's. This is the step in the process before we even step on the court, or maybe as we're stepping on the court, is now we are going to put together the tactics. Tactics and strategy are 2 completely different things. Well, they go hand in hand. All right, sometimes, and this is a little pet peeve of mine, I'll hear a coach say, we run the Princeton offense, that's our strategy. We run the dribble drive offense, or read and react, and that's our strategy. That's not your strategy. That's the vehicle. That's the delivery system. That's the strategy delivery system. All right, that's what the X's and O's are. Those are the tactics. All right. And while the tactics are great, and some offenses are pegged into a box, like you've known by now, if you've listened to the previous 2 episodes, that I'm a Princeton Offense coach, and I'm having a Princeton Offense event that I'll talk about here in a few minutes, that the Princeton Offense has been pegged as a slow-down offense. It's been pegged as a smart player offense. You have to have those smart guys to run that offense, those smart girls. That's that Ivy League stuff. If we don't have that type of player, we can't run that offense. We've got athletes here. We can't get athletes to run the Princeton offense. They're not going to slow it down and do all that stuff. And that's what happens. This offense has been put in a box. All right. And what I try to show coaches, look, you can run the Princeton up tempo. All right. The more skilled players you have, you can play faster. The more athletic and talented players you have, you can play faster. And a lot of Princeton coaches will say, they'll point to Richmond University, and Coach Mooney and what they're doing over there. They've run that offense so up tempo, it's crazy. But I tell you what, in the truth of their situation, they're not always the most talented team in the A-10 behind Dayton and Xavier and everyone else that's in that league. A lot of times they're right in the middle of the pack when it comes to talent, natural talent. But where they make up for it, they do run their Princeton offense more up tempo than most any other team that runs it. I'll give you a couple other examples here in a second. But when they made that run a couple years ago in the tournament, they had to upset 3 or 4 teams in the A-10 tournament before they made it to into the big tournament, into the March Madness tournament. And there, I'm trying to remember if they won. I think they won the first 2 games, but they had to upset 2 more teams that were more talented than they are. They didn't do that by playing a more up-tempo style than those other talented teams. Right? Now they are talented, but they are extremely skilled. I would almost argue that their level of skill combined with their level of talent, which again was probably less than some of the teams that they were beating at that time, but their level of skill and their overall strategy, the way that they ran their Princeton offense, not that it was up-tempo, it is more up-tempo than most teams run it, but relative to the teams that they were playing, it was like, come out and guard us. And they put defenses in situations that were not situations they wanted to be in. And the level of talent that they had and the higher skill level that they were able to execute, and they were able to upset teams. All right. If you want to look at, the teams that I really focus on when I say these are some of the most talented teams who have ever run the Princeton offense, I look at Georgetown. I go straight to Georgetown, mid-2000s when John Thompson III was there. And at their peak is when they had Jeff Green and Roy Hibbert. And now that was the team. And then there was the Herb Sendek NC State team that had ACC talent running the Princeton offense. But we would always joke back then, it was like, hey, instead of throwing backdoors for layups, they're throwing backdoors for lobs and dunks. All right. And while if you look at Richmond, they have an extensive playbook. If you look at Georgetown, they ran like 3 things out of the Princeton offense, but they were very disciplined in the way they executed it. So you can absolutely, and again, this is what we teach, and this is what I'm going to be teaching in this masterclass coming up. It may be ongoing, it may be past, and I'll give you the details to sign up and find out where we're at. And you can always sign up, and replays may be available, and if they're not available, you can always get on a wait list. But in the masterclass, we're going to be breaking down, all right, all of these situations between, hey, what situation are you in competitively? All right. Who are you trying to beat? What strategy do you need to use to compete with? Do you need to play fast? Do you need to play slow? Do you need to play physical? Do you need to play in space? Do you need to kind of be somewhere in between fast and slow so you have the ability to shift gears and go up and play more up-tempo some nights and be able to shift gears and come back down and play a more deliberate style some nights? And when it gets to the X's and O's, the tactics, okay, it's how do we make the adjustments in whatever offense you're running? Again, I'm doing a Princeton offense event, and I would love you to sign up whether you run Princeton or not, because there's going to be something for you there. But you're going to see how we take the X's and O's and we adjust them if we want to play faster or slower. There's a lot of neat things we can do. There's a lot of false motion that Princeton offenses run, and some coaches will say, hey, you know what we did to speed the offense up is they did a lot of this false motion stuff. We took that out of the offense, just got right down in the core X's and O's, and voila, we're a more up-tempo team. We're scoring more points. We're tougher to guard. But they also had really good players that could execute that way. And then some teams say, hey, man, we're going to run that same core offense. We need to slow this thing down. So they add that false motion back in to be more deliberate. But when they get into the actual core series, the core X's and O's of their Princeton, and just kind of a foreshadowing, the Princeton offense has 4 core series. If you're ever curious about the Princeton offense, little side quest here is learning the Princeton offense today is, I would argue, because there's more information and more available today about this offense. And because of that, I'm going to say, I almost think it's more difficult to learn today because of all the variety and all the creativity that's going on with the offense versus when I was learning it back early 2000s, 2001, 2002, there was only like 4 teams that you could watch. It was Princeton, never on TV, Air Force, hardly ever on TV. I had to get a special mountain plan to even watch them. But then it was Northwestern. And then when John Thompson went to Georgetown, those were the 4 teams that you could watch. And then eventually Chris Mooney also went to Richmond. But those are the 4 or 5 teams. Those are the only teams on TV that you could watch. And you could see the similarities in all of them. But because there were so few options, you could actually pick out. I would say there was less information, but there was more of a core fundamental way of running the offense. And when you break down the Princeton offense, there are 4 core series in it. I tell coaches, it's kind of like there's 4 offenses in one when it comes to the Princeton offense. There's the low post series. There's the chin series, which is the most popular one that most coaches are familiar with. There's the point series. That's the one everyone's trying to run today and implement because it's more of the up-tempo scoring and aggressive aspect of Princeton. And then there is the open series. That's Princeton's 5 out. So the Princeton offense kind of has like a 4-around-1 low post. They have a 4-around-1 high post. They have a point series, ball screening, attacking part of their offense. And then they have a 5-out version. There's 4 offenses in one. What's the beauty about Princeton is how you blend and cross and put those together. Okay, so side tangent over, or side quest over. So now let's get back into the tactical planning. So no matter what offense or defense you run, because you absolutely, I take these same frameworks and you apply them to the defense and the offense equally. Right? If we want to speed the game up and I want to run Princeton, or if I want to run dribble drive and speed the game up, well, the dribble drive is already made to speed the game up. But I was talking to some other coaches who run dribble drive, and they're like, hey, there's nights where we need to slow the game down, but we will run the dribble drive, but we will run it in a more delayed fashion to slow the game down nights when we don't have that talent advantage. We'll slow it down. We'll slow it down to a crawl. We'll drive, and then we'll back dribble, and when we lift and we loop on the weak side, we'll kick it over there and we'll pitch and we'll stuff. But we're not going to try to score right away. We might run a lot more dribble handoffs, a lot more weaves. That we might work and try to set up double, triple gaps further along in the offense, try to lull that defense to sleep, and then boom, then we'll attack. Once they get tired of guarding us after 30, 45 seconds, then we'll attack. All right. And so you can apply this tactical planning in any offense that you run to execute any strategy. Okay, and that's the beauty about this, and that's where I think that offenses and defenses get stereotypes. They get put in a box, and you can do that, but you don't have to do that. All right, now there are some spacing advantages that you might get with a dribble drive, and with the Princeton offense, there might be rebounding disadvantages because you have all these players playing on the perimeter. Okay, but you can take any one of those and you can make the proper adjustments to plug some of those holes. And that's the next step is whatever offense or defense you're running. And for coaches who are kind of latching onto this because I'm doing the Princeton offense event coming up, the 3-day masterclass. I'll give you those details in 1 second. Is that take your Princeton offense and modify it so that you can run it more up tempo. Modify it so you can play in more space. Modify it so you can put 2 post players in at one point in time. All right, that's one of the big questions I get is, Coach, I've got 2 bigs. How do we run Princeton with 2 bigs? I love the offensive philosophy and strategy and the underdog and all of that, but how do we run Princeton with 2 bigs? There's a few different ways to do it. And that's something that we teach, and I'll probably break that down in the master class as well, is how you can play with different types of personnel. Okay, so that being said, just understand there is a difference. Your offense is not your strategy, and your strategy is not your offense. All right, don't put your offense or your defense in a box. All right, the X's and O's carry out the strategy that's dictated by the personnel you have and the personnel and by the opponents have that you're trying to beat. All right, and in my mind, I'm always trying to beat the teams that are better than us. All right, so if you are interested, next steps, if you want to follow me, if you're a Princeton offense coach, or if you just want to see what the Princeton offense is about. I've had so many coaches jump in and say, Coach, I didn't know you could run the Princeton offense up tempo. I didn't know you could run it fast. I thought it was a slow down offense. And they get in and start running. It's like, this is great. A lot of coaches have gotten bored with all the normal stuff. They wanted to dip their toe in the offense, but they've never found the right information. If you want to learn more about the Princeton offense, go to PrincetonOffenseMasterclass.com. Starting Monday, August 5th, 6th, and 7th, we will be live. However, there will be replays, And if the replays by chance have closed down, still sign up, get on the email list so that I can send you the emails when the next event is happening. So go to PrincetonOffenseMasterclass.com. If you're watching, again, if you're watching this live, get in it and join it live. We will be doing Q&A during this masterclass. And again, if you're watching replay, you can always reach out to me by email. My email is coach@hoopsindetail.com. But go to PrincetonOffenseMasterclass.com. And next time you talk to Coach Collins, thank him for inviting me on the podcast. Let me do this 3-part series. This was extremely fun for me. Here's the championship guy, but the underdog guy is coming for you. All right, Coach. Thanks a lot. I will see you guys on the next one.
Hey, Coach. So glad you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed it a lot. Actually, if you did, subscribe and like, and then go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better.